Dan and Amy, and last night, oh, Nelly.
Wow. I didn't think it could get any worse. This is why you shouldn't have 11 debates, because by the 11th debate, you're talking about people's anatomy, and it gets a little raunchy, and sometimes parents had to remove their kids from the room because they couldn't watch it.
We're not going to see his tax returns. We're not going to see that tape that he of his conversation before the New York Times editorial board, but we may see his privates.
I also happen to call him a lightweight, okay, and I have said that, so I would like to take that back. He's really not that much of a lightweight. And as far as, and I have to say this, he hit my hands. Nobody has ever hit my hands. I've never heard of this one. Look at those hands. Are they small hands? And he referred to my hands. If they're small, something else must be small. I guarantee you there's no problem. I guarantee it. All right. Okay.
Drop your pants and prove it. I mean, why don't we just go there, at this point? To try and elevate, I suppose,
this conversation
and the review of what occurred last night. We're now joined by our friend, broadcasting legend, host of Beyond the Beltway, 10 p.m. to midnight on these airwaves on Sunday nights. He is Bruce Dumont. Bruce, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning. Great to talk about politics with you two.
Yeah, and I'll another programming note on Mini Super Tuesday, where Illinois votes as well. March 15th, Tuesday night, Bruce will be anchoring the coverage on these airwaves as the results come in and giving it meaning. So
with Joe Walsh, it's going to be fun.
There you go.
And both calls.
So last night, kind of your general impressions. Do you think that Rubio or Cruz or for the sake of Ohio, Kasich, advanced their flag any against Trump?
I think, to me, Cruz came across as the winner. I would put Kasich a slight second, but Kasich early on had a couple of good moments, but they didn't go to him enough, and they didn't give enough airtime to explore his opportunities. Again, he's kind of a Johnny One-Note on what he did in Ohio, and I understand that because most people still don't know who he is. But I thought that the level of the discussion between Rubio and Trump was such at a lower level. Cruz came after him, but it was at a higher level. And he came across as the smartest guy on the stage, which I think he is. And I would say that Cruz was the winner last night.
And not to go back to that horrific moment when Donald Trump talked about his that he was well endowed. Have you ever seen, in your decades of covering, GOP debates and Democratic debates, it become that raunchy?
No, but also I will dare say that it's probably the most replayed piece of last night's broadcast, and Donald Trump knows that. I mean, he knows how to come with sound bites, and I just think that Rubio nipping at his heels now for the second debate in a row. He brought up some very important things. I think Trump University is something that the average person can understand and empathize with. But I still think that the way it's being delivered is much more of a schoolyard battle than the way that Cruz attacks Trump on some of the other related issues that are in albatross around his neck.
And Rubio, I thought, also the way that he tries to prosecute the attacks against Donald Trump, I think fall flat in part because he's living in a glass house, and a number of them, for example, talking about seasonal workers at his compound there, Mar-a-Lago, his club in West Palm Beach. So let me understand this, Marco. You don't like Trump using seasonal workers at Mar-a-Lago through a legal government program, but you would be okay if he employed the people that you wanted to give amnesty to as part of your Gang of Eight bill? So you're attacking Trump on one hand, but you're trying to facilitate the kind of activity that the Donald Trumps of the world do with your legislation in D.C.
Mm-hmm. No, I think you're right, and I think so much of what Rubio and so much of what Trump was saying last night was really about going after the Florida vote. I mean, it's all about Florida. I mean, everybody knows this is not rocket science now. That if Rubio does not win Florida, he's a cooked goose. He has no credible pathway to anything. Likewise, I think if Kasich can survive in Ohio, I think he's more likely to survive in Ohio than Rubio is in Florida. Then Kasich he's got at least 66 more delegates that he's going to walk into that convention with in his home state. And If this turns out to be an open convention, it's going to be good to be the governor of the state where the convention is being held.
Oh, that's true. Hey, did you like how Chris Wallace and Megyn Kelly, they had, real-time fact-checking queued up when they took Trump to task on certain things about, Trump University and his $500 billion in spending plan?
I liked it, but frankly, I think they failed the test of fairness and balance last night.
Yeah.
I wish they would have done that with all of the candidates. It really, to an observer, it looked like there was a gang up on Trump. All the questions to Trump were based on a premise of a negative premise. But I wish they would have done it with all the candidates, and then it would have looked less like a gang up, and especially with Megyn Kelly, who I like a lot. But again, I think her thoughts about Donald Trump came through in the level in which she pursued her questioning.
Yeah, I agree with that. And the video montage, I think that was sponsored by our principal Super PAC. And frankly, I thought Trump got himself out of some of his kind of conflicting answers on Afghanistan and Syria pretty well.
Yes, I agree with that. And I think at some point there's been so much thrown. I think, by the way, in my view, the day started not as badly as some suggest with Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney is the perfect foil for Donald Trump right now. Absolutely the perfect foil. And the wrong messenger for a good message. It's a serious message.
Bingo.
But he's the wrong messenger. And I think, you said earlier that Scott Walker could be one that could deliver that message. But it's reminding me also of 1964, when Barry Goldwater, who was the anathema of the establishment, was rolling through the country, winning primary after primary, and at the very last moment, they tried to get Governor Bill Scranton of Pennsylvania to stop him at the last moment. I think that's the desperation that we're seeing repeated now in 2016.
Yeah, that didn't work out great for Goldwater in 64. Bruce Dumont, he is the host of Beyond the Beltway. Catch him Sunday nights on these airwaves, 10 p.m., and you can also catch him for a special edition of coverage March 15th, election night, where he will host the post-election coverage, talk about the returns, take your calls with Joe Walsh. Bruce, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks, folks.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.